as moving forward, the key thing that the department is very, very interested in, we agree wholeheartedly, is to communicate that you need to do it for your business. Servicing your client is a way of improving your business. And having the supply chain efficiency, which brings together a whole lot of things, and I'm not going to go through them, you can see them there. And this is a balancing act. And before the commentary about what do I do first, what is important, what's not important, is summarized here. So we're talking about, now all of you, many of you are small businesses, but one thing, and the first point is senior management supported leadership, sounds a bit geeky and kind of like corporate, but what it means in all reality for Mark and Vicky is a belief in the owners of the business, yes, we can. Oh yeah, I'm channeling some president. But it's about the belief that yes, you can make a difference, yes, you will invest to improve your business. So unless you say that and you do that, it's not going to happen. It's about, and I will reinterpret this, it's about dealing with resistance. So you will have people within your organization who say, why are you doing this to us? Aren't you happy with what we're doing? And if it is man, you can say no. And you need to find the words and you need to find the encouragement to bring people together with you in the way you are doing things. So training is important, and this is not surprising coming from professional trainers. Of course we're going to tell you that training is important. But knowledge and skills and capability is important. And of course to think about the cost and the return on investment. It's no good implementing something. Mark, Vicky, I'm not going to recommend to you to do fancy stuff. Stuff you will do will be 40-year-old technology. That's as complex as I would suggest that your business needs to take in the first step. Let's do the 40-year-old stuff first. Yeah? So then, as you get the confidence, as we mentioned before, you grow and develop. So it's about, and what we mean here is about the leadership. And the leadership is in the thought leadership. It's the ability to build, and I'm not going to go through it here because it may not apply to everybody, is about concept, reflection on return on investment, implementation, evaluation and feedback, embedding it into your everyday kind of business life, and then scope the next thing. What's the next opportunity? Where can we go next? And it might be, Mark and Vicky, that at some point when you do this, like what we talked during the small session that we had there, it might be that you say, you know what? We are going to stop any development for 6 months, a year, because I want to build a brand. And that's fine. Taking those kind of decisions is a good idea, and taking a break for technology. But as long as you know what, that is part of a bigger picture. So, one thing that I would like to share with you is, if you don't know what to do, copy somebody who does. So, imitation can be innovation. So, many companies have done what you've done. This is not news. This is not something that you'll be splitting the atom here. You will be doing stuff that other people have done. And often, and something else, is if you are going to, so James, going back to you, and let's say Metcash RGA, do you deal with them?
No, we compete with them in a very small...
Okay, but who was the trading partner that you could not...
It was a spotless...
Okay, spotless business. Okay, so the way this works is this. Spotless have a series of capability or requirements that we're unable to meet. Let's work out what they are. Let's understand them, number one. Let's have a commitment as a team. Let's all put the hands in the middle like the Boy Scouts used to do and say, guys, let's do this. Let's nail Spotless. We're going to do this. So let's find out what the list is and then work through that list and say, now, as we're meeting their requirements, we are learning. Yeah? As you're implementing technology to achieve the outcome for them, so it's officially the Spotless requirement, but in the meanwhile, you're learning. You are developing capability. You're proving to yourself you can do it. Can you see what I mean? So that's what we mean by imitation can be innovation. Because you imitate somebody who's done it, but you are being successful for your own business. And those of you who have children will know children learn by imitating their adults. And guess what? One day they become adults themselves. So it's nothing new here. So we're talking about the benefits that can be operational. So we're talking about end-to-end visibility. We're talking about higher productivity from their workforce. And we're talking about stopping the unproductive costs in the business. For me, Vicky, sorry to use you as an example again. For me, it's unproductive to be counting the stock in the fridge multiple times. It's simply a waste of my time. If I'm going to spend half an hour to do this, and I do this 5 times a week, I've wasted 2 or 3 hours that could have been put into something else. Could have answered emails. I could have picked up the phone and sold the product. Yeah? So these are the sort of things that you need to think about, because ultimately you need to think about the customer satisfaction. If the customer is not happy, they will find ways to move away from you. Even if you think that you have a leading edge, customers will find ways of moving away from you. And just think about this. How many businesses are long gone and forgotten? The other day I was talking to a Curtin University audience and I was telling them about Ansett. And more than half the room had no idea. I said it was Australia's largest commercial domestic airline for decades, competing with TAA back in the day or whatever. And they had no idea. A brand that all of us grew up with and knew quite well, as we do Qantas. So, yeah, these things happen. And many examples. So, financial. We're talking about everything has to revolve back to your bottom line, to your balance sheet, but move the mindset from a cost to an investment. There's a difference in my mind, and I'm happy to discuss the point, what is a cost and what is an investment. So, a cost is to get Jimmy to count the fridge. An investment is to buy a scanner that scans the product in and out so we don't have to count. That's an investment. Because sure, it has a commercial cost. You will pay money to buy the scanner, but it will actually return investment. It will return value. Jimmy counting the fridge a few times ain't going to bring that money back. You've paid the hour per hour or whatever you do, and that's it. It's a sunken cost gone forever. Okay, so, and collaboration. I don't want to talk a lot more about collaboration because I think, Earl, you nailed it so well about what it means to collaborate. And people who work with trading partners, and I know some of you work at distribution points for other companies or other organization, one thing you need to think about is bring people in the tent. So with your growers, guys, bring them in the tent, involve them. People do less damage if they're in the tent. Typically, I find people in the tent do not tend to burn down the tent because they're in it. Yeah? People outside the tent burn tents. Yeah? So what I mean as a metaphor is involve the right people, your partners in your journey, in your decision making, so they can participate, they can assist you, and you can be open to them about the way you're going. And one important thing, move from supplier to trade partner. So sometimes starting to change the language helps people recast a relationship. Instead of saying, I'm your supplier, it has a kind of like a disconnect about it. But if you say, I'm your partner, I'm your trading partner, your success is my success, casts it in a different light. The challenges, one of the key challenges that we find typically is cultural resistance, and cultural barriers could be, as we mentioned before, the sacred cows, we've always done this, an internal focus. This is all about forgetting about the customer. This is about the process and getting bogged down in the politics, in the internal politics. And I've been in businesses where the customer really is incidental. The big game is trying to nail IT, trying to nail marketing, or trying to get sales, because they're the real enemy, not the customer, yeah? So, and playing the blame game. People say, we're in a mess that we are because it's your fault. Yeah? Instead of owning the decision and saying, okay, there's things that are going wrong here, but we need to collectively own that decision and make a difference. And the technology here is very, very important in terms of the disconnects, because there are causes and effects. And sometimes the two things get kind of mixed up, because sometimes people might say, well, is this the cause and effect? Like an ability to do invoice processing automatically. Well, is that a cause or is that an effect? The cause is we don't have any capability to identify uniquely things, to capture the data, to share the data. Now, an outcome of this is invoices all over the place that are unable to be reconciled. So think about what is the causes. So the causes are lack of technology, lack of standardization, lack of appropriate training. And what that means is that all these things happen. Systems fail. We don't know what the data is. We don't know where to get it. We don't understand how to take the next step. And the headline here is that your ecosystem, because we're all in little ecosystems here within our organizations or within our communities, is as strong as the weakest link. And that can work within a region, let's say the Margaret River region or whatever region around Perth or Western Australia. It works at a state level, it works also at a national level. So think about how you can strengthen and remove those weakest links. Operational failure, so talking about the weakest link, so in order to understand the weakest link, you've got to understand the process. And failures occur, and I'm not going to read from the slide, you can have a look and you get quickly an idea what we're talking about. Ultimately, it's about the disconnects, and the disconnects are around processes, people, technology. So we've talked a little bit about this. So the thing that I want to pick up is this. Just throwing money, resources at the problem. So in other words, we get a massive order. So Vicky, somebody rings up and forget about the 1,000 kilos or whatever you're getting. Somebody says, you know what? 10,000 kilos. Now, that kind of challenge. So at that point, what happens is we've got no idea how to deal with that, and we're going to throw money at it. Let's bring in people, let's try to resolve this issue, and we sort of, in a panic way, trying to address that kind of challenge. Think about and try to play out scenarios as you automate. What do I do in that kind of situation? What would I do if I had or a recall event or something like that, or a challenge with a high order or something like that? How would you be able to respond? We don't have the answer. We can't give you must do A, B, C, D. All we're asking you to do is think about that scenario and the role play. And in my job, most of my training sessions are good. I think the audience from the feedback is good, but once or twice I've had failures. Things have not worked out. Now, there's two ways I can handle this. I can just go back and sob in my pillow, or I can say, right, what went wrong? What was the problem here? What can I learn from it? So when we're talking about automation, we are talking about a level of evaluation of your options. What you picked up, guys, before is where you're at. This is your evaluation thing. Remember how you said, I don't know what's the right thing to do and all the rest? So, A, educate yourselves. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a level of technology here, yeah? So these are, and we've put here some headlines of what is available out there. Roughly, you've got software infrastructure, you've got scanners, you've got printers, you've got the ability to look at your competitors. You can look at your industry. You can chat to the guys like Gabor or other members of the team here and say, well, what's going on in the region? What are some of the things that people are thinking of? So once you evaluate, then you need to do the plan. You've got to ask, do I have time to do nothing? Yeah? I want to flip it on the side because at the end of the day, this is about the longevity of the business. And if the same approach was used, I mean, we would not have a smartphone. If we had taken this approach ever since, you know, dot one, none of the things around us would exist. Yeah, we'll be still sort of smacking two rocks together to light a fire. So, plan is very important, and plan actually will. The planning could happen in conjunction with government, local authorities, or whatever, and the plan will happen in conjunction with your solution providers. And one thing that I love that what Gabor said, which I think is absolute pure gold, is given the relative distance of Perth, Western Australia, from the eastern mainland, is a key thing. If I was a business owner here, I'd say, what's the support here? And my advice is pay an extra shekel for local support. Because Murphy's Law says it will go belly up at the wrong time. And you'll need to pick up the phone, and you want somebody to be awake and ready to pick up the phone because they're in Perth instead of somebody in Melbourne because it's like 5 o'clock here and 7 o'clock over the other side and they've already gone home. Yeah. A very good friend of mine, he's a building manager in Melbourne, and we were both invited to a dinner party. And I'll give you an example. And he gets a phone call, and the gates in the parking of that tower, you know, 400 apartments or whatever on St Kilda Road in Melbourne, was not working. So it was 8 o'clock on a Saturday evening. So he picks up the phone call. We're glad to get your phone. Thank you very much for thinking of us. We love you as a customer, but we don't have anybody to call us. Call us back at 8 o'clock in the morning. In the meanwhile, there was a queue of people trying to get out of the building, and it's his job on the line. So I said to him, Robert, listen, why don't you get a solution provider who can actually help you with an after hours? If this is an important thing, do that. And he rang me up the other day. He had another call, but this time he was prepared. So he had somebody. Sure, it was 20% more, 25% more as a service call. But at that point, you don't want a queue of people trying to get out of a building. Do you know what I mean? Very good. Okay, so implementation is very important. So once you have the evaluation, you've sorted out what you want to do, you build a plan, then you have to do it. And the doing part can be hard and can be challenging. And you will fall and you will scratch the knees. And you will fall and you will get a bit of a knock on the head, and then you'll need to sort of steady yourself and say, right, we need to go on. But the fact is, the show must go on, and you must continue the implementation journey and not be deviated from minor or major mishaps. Yeah? I'm not saying that you don't learn from feedback, but you've got to keep going. Yeah, you've got to keep going. So, and what we mean about implementing towards automation is implement some of the GS1 standards. And we're not, I mean, I guess you're going to say, of course they're going to say that because they work for GS1. But ultimately, what we're talking about is standards that are implemented worldwide. You're not building an island. We are giving you the opportunity to participate globally. The last thing you want to do is build walls around you. So you might have the most fantastic system, but if it's enclosed within 4 walls, it ain't going nowhere. Yeah? You've got to find ways of connecting with the rest of the world. One that I like here is register stock movements as transactions. Begin to think in your business as everything that happens as a transaction, as an event, so you can measure it, you can identify it. Yeah? This is a little bit of a twist in the traditional way we're doing things. So Mark, in your case, for instance, because I'm thinking, what on earth is he talking about? What I'm talking about is, so the scanning event of X grower, so Terry is the grower of the product, and sending it to Mark and Vicky. So scanning the barcode in that particular case becomes an event, and it's captured as an event in the database. And the event has attributes. Who, when, how, yeah? So it becomes a receiving event. So then you can evaluate it. So the computer will do that. Don't worry, you won't have to put a timer or whatever. So you can start then thinking about your business as a series of transactions, just like the banks do. Every time you, and this is when, if you ring a call center and all the rest, what they're creating is an event, yeah, that can be managed, can be further explained or researched. Okay, so as an ongoing basis, set and forget ain't a good idea. Set and forget will not answer the problem. What you need to do is have ongoing evaluation, ongoing review, audits, ongoing reflection of what has happened, ongoing measurement, and I know, Earl, you have unpacked it a little bit, so we're not going to go over it. And the benchmarks that Earl was talking about can come from your community or industry sector, can come from ISO, can come from Standards Australia or other regulatory bodies, or, more importantly, can come from your trading partners. Coles and Woolworths and all of them evaluate the performance of their suppliers. And is it true, Earl, that in data synchronization we have platinum, gold, and it looks like the Qantas kind of frequent flyer program, right? So a few words about that, because I think that's an important reflection.
Yeah, I think there are really two choices that a customer can make. They can name and shame you.
Yes, naming and shaming.
Yeah, in regards to how poor you are as a supplier in their, amongst their supplier base. Or they can try a different means in terms of trying to recognize where you're at. And by using, if you like, these statuses of, platinum and gold and silver and bronze, and, they can actually help you realize, that you are far from optimal. And there's more that you need to do to improve, the value that you're actually providing to your customers. And that's why, from a data perspective, all the data that's being provided to, for example, the likes of the healthcare industry and the grocery and retail industry is actually being validated. And based on the result of the quality of the data, you're getting these 4 or 5 different statuses. We then aim towards achieving platinum. So all businesses are basically aiming to achieve platinum, and by virtue of a quarterly run report, they know whether they're sustaining that high quality of data, or in actual fact, as quickly as as it's recognized that they're declining, the reports show up and they know, hang on, things are getting a little bit away from us. We actually need to pull up our socks and improve.
Great, thank you. So, supply chain is identify, capture, share. Identify everything that moves and shakes. Use technology to capture the data to replace manual processing. And finally, start sharing data upstream, downstream, and sideways with your trading partners to improve the decision process making in your organization. So there are technologies around identification, and at GS1 has a number of identification standards. So Mark, before on your piece of paper there, I've written some acronyms, yeah? GTIN, GLN. GTIN, Global Trade Item Number 4 products. GLN for location. SSCC for logistic units. That is, a logistic unit might be a pallet, an incoming, something that's been transacted, a cardboard box of 40 kilos of the product, for instance, and asset identifiers. So I may need to say, well, I've got this machine, which is an asset. I'll give it a unique asset identifier. This asset is producing these GTINs in this location. Can you see what I mean? So you're bringing all these keys. The GS1 keys are little codes that can connect each other in a database. We've built the system for computers. And if you're trying to make sense of it as a human being, forget about it. We did not build it for people. This was built for computers. And then we have other capturing technologies, which might be barcodes or RFID chips. They can be a bit fancy. And then we have sharing technologies. So one thing we want to do is, now the final film clip that we will have is to put everything together and show you what happens in a traditional, classic supply chain, end-to-end, from a supplier through to a large retailer. It's an insight into not how only Migros stores, which is a Swiss retailer, works, This is Coles, this is Kmart, this is Woolworths, this is Walmart, this is Carrefour in France. Doesn't matter where you are, that's how it works. And it works this way because, simply enough, it's been tried and tested multiple times, billions of times. So, let's have a look at this video.
Every day, millions of products are sold at Migros stores. Every product order has to be managed accurately from the supplier to ensure efficient delivery and a smooth operation. Products may be delivered directly to the store or via a central distribution center and then validated and invoiced. Thanks to Electronic Data Interchange, or EDI, the electronic exchange of data between trading partners, the buying process is dynamic and highly automated. This video will demonstrate how a single product is transported through the whole supply chain from the supplier to the retailer. The use of EDI and other GS1 standards helps guarantee efficient and smoothly running business processes. The electronic exchange of information is especially efficient when done between business partners without the need to transform the data. This is why standards are key to a successful implementation of EDI. The Swiss retail industry advocates the use of the GS1 system of standards throughout the whole retail supply chain. GS1 is a globally active, not-for-profit organization which develops information standards in close cooperation with its members. These standards are implemented based on the business needs and technological readiness of each company. Within Migros, a product moves through the supply chain from ordering to delivery up to the point of sale. This process is repeated millions of times for every product, and within every retail store throughout the retail industry in an almost constant cycle. The supply chain starts with the order for products from a supplier. At which point is the order initiated? Who does it? And how does it work? In this example, we see a customer buying a package of washing powder. When the product is scanned at checkout, not only is the price looked up, but also the sales information is sent to the central warehouse system. The barcode on the product is the best known of all the GS1 system standards. The barcode carries a GTIN, which stands for Global Trade Item Number. The GTIN is a globally unique number that identifies a product. This means only this total washing powder carries this identification number. GS1 defines the structure of the GTIN, and the brand owner allocates a different GTIN to each of their products according to the GS1 GTIN allocation rules. In the meantime, several boxes of the total washing powder have been sold. The stock in the store has fallen under the defined minimum level. The central warehouse system therefore automatically creates an order message. In our example, other stores have reached their minimum stock level too, so that a consolidated order is sent to the supplier. Ordering is done completely electronically via EDI. What are the preconditions for EDI? Migros offers two options for suppliers to connect electronically. Classic EDI, which means a direct interface between the enterprise resources systems, or ERP systems, of the business partners. Here, EDI messages are exchanged in standardized formats, such as EANCOM, which is based on UN EDIFACT or ANSI X12 or GS1 XML. The second option is Web EDI. In this case, no investment in the setup of an interface between systems is necessary. The retailer offers a web portal to the suppliers, so they can then, for example, receive orders, send dispatch advices and invoices. The Web EDI solution of Migros is called MLS Online. A very important precondition for EDI is that master data about the products are aligned between the business partners in advance. This alignment can also be done electronically. Once Classic EDI or Web EDI has been set up successfully, the ordering process can be done very efficiently. For postal address, such as delivery points or invoice addresses, another GS1 identification key, the global location number, is used. It's also known as the GLN. All partners in the supply chain, suppliers, retailer, individual stores, and so on, are identified with this globally unique number. When the order arrives at the supplier, it's processed in the supplier's ERP system. The order contains the G-tin of the total washing powder. The required quantity can now be prepared for delivery. To prepare the boxes of washing powder for transport, they're consolidated into larger logistical units. The individual boxes offered for sale to the customer are called consumer units. The next higher packaging level is called trade or orderable unit. On every consumer box of washing powder, the G-tin is displayed in the form of an EAN UPC barcode symbol. Higher packaging levels can also be identified with the G-tin. In this example, a GS1 128 barcode symbol is used to identify it as a transport unit. Trade units are consolidated onto pallets or other returnable transport items for transport. These units are called logistic units. Each logistic unit will receive a barcode label with a unique identifier, the Serial Shipping Container Code, or SSCC for short. The SSCC will be coded in a GS1 128 barcode, which is used to track the product as it moves from the warehouse to the delivery location. The logistic unit will be accompanied with a bill of delivery, which contains all necessary information for the order, delivery, and the products contained. In our example, the products are delivered directly to the individual store. In other scenarios, they may be delivered via central and/or regional distribution centers. As soon as the products are on the way to the retailer, the supplier's system sends an electronic dispatch advice, also known as Advanced Shipment Notice, or ASN. This EDI message contains all necessary information for the delivery. It's most important that the EDI message arrives on time, before the arrival of the products in the retailer's system. When the products arrive, the SSCC is scanned, and due to the EDI dispatch advice, or ASN message, the received amount can be automatically added to the warehouse stock level. This transaction is the basis upon which the invoice for the delivered products can be generated. Now the products can be put on the shelf within the store, ready to be bought by a customer. At the end of the buying process, the invoice can be issued by the supplier. Even the invoice will be sent electronically for a fast, accurate, and reliable processing. The electronically sent invoice includes the G-tin of the delivered products, the corresponding prices, and other essential information. In this message, the sender and receiver are identified with a GLN in a similar way to the EDI orders and dispatch advice messages. All invoices from one supplier are consolidated and paid periodically. If the supplier wishes, he can receive an electronic remittance advice using EDI. The total washing powder example explains how EDI can support the efficient and accurate processing of data in a complex retail supply chain. Every year, Migros processes 7 million electronic messages with over 600 suppliers. This reduces costs as well as increases the accuracy and speed of the entire process. The GS1 system and the EDI standards enable the retail industry to benefit from improved efficiencies in various business processes.
So what do we identify? Products, location, logistic units, and assets. We use barcodes to transact that, to capture that information, and then we have EDI standards. So I know this kind of, and I didn't interrupt it because I just didn't want to interrupt the flow at this point, but I know this kind of is at the upper end, but this is what many of you may need to one day deliver into, if not now. Yeah? This is the kind of process that you need to think about and the technologies that are involved. So how will you support that? You'll support that by having the barcodes on the product, by having the right technology to interact with the retailer electronically, So just like you in your case before, you know, with your iPads because you're sick of doing the manual orders, that's what Migros is doing. Because did you see 7 million messages? They don't want to do 7 million pieces of paper. Yeah? That's what it actually means here. Okay, so theory into practice, and today we've given you lots of words, lots of theory, but what you need to do is start thinking about how to implement it. And the implementation will mean the right technology, as we said before, building the systems, the standards, and start thinking about how you extract value from your membership. If you are a member of GS1 Australia, we are more than happy to help you, because that's part. If you are not a member of GS1 Australia, we're still happy to help you. But the only thing is, one thing we cannot do is give you a number range for no cost, yeah? You've got to subscribe to the system, because that's the way that everybody participates. Yeah? At the end of the day, we can say, yeah, it'd be great that everybody gets everything for free, but sadly, Earl and I have to pay a mortgage, and we have to pay the electricity bill, and we have to pay airfares, so we need to have so that's why we've got a cost recovery model. But certainly you can be rest assured, with GS1, we do not have shareholders. The benefits are returned back into industry. One way that's returned back into industry, just as a quick thing, the other day, you know the Curtin University lecture that I told you, I was there for 3 hours? The cost? 0. Why? You might say, well, why don't you charge the university? Because our board says, educate the young professionals. So those people who are going to go out to industry, tell them about how industry works. So when they come to me as a staff member, I know that they know a few things, you know, how to work in an everyday business. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. You can have a look at it. But ultimately, think about forging strategic alliances, and these are with your technology providers. Think about how to performance manage your staff towards upskilling them, not to punish them, reward them, not punish them, and how to deal with competitive forces.